My name is Maya. My mother bought my sister a new car and handed me a mop, then told me to know my place. A week later, my phone wouldn't stop buzzing because my name was in the news. If something like this ever happened in your family, tell me about it in the comments. Linda took my sister to the dealership before lunch. The rest of us waited at the house, plates half set, chairs pulled out like nothing important was happening. When they came back, the car paperwork was still warm from the printer, and my sister was smiling in a way that meant this had been decided long before today. Linda handed me a mop from the hall closet. While they finish up, she said, "You can get the kitchen floor. It's sticky." The mop handle was chipped and loose. I adjusted it and said nothing. "That's what you're good at right now," Linda added, not lowering her voice, not checking who was listening. My phone vibrated in my pocket. I glanced down. Unknown number, Austin area code. It buzzed again before I could put it away. "Can this wait?" Linda asked. "It's a work call," I said. "Work can wait," she replied. "Family can't." The call dropped when I declined it. The mop dragged water in uneven lines across the tile. From the dining table, my sister talked about the color options they didn't have in stock. My phone kept vibrating. I turned it face down on the counter. In the garage, Linda spread the paperwork across the hood of the old sedan, flipping pages fast. She paused, frowned, then crossed out my name and wrote my sister's, pressing hard enough to crease the paper. "Oops," she said. "Too many kids." "You're meeting people next week anyway," my sister said. "You'll be busy." Linda nodded. A few things lined up. The mop handle snapped when it caught on a chair leg. The plastic cracked clean through. "Cheap stuff," Linda said. "That's why you don't get attached." I set the broken mop against the wall and reached for my phone again. The screen lit up with a calendar alert, canceling a meeting I hadn't canceled. A voicemail notification followed. No name, just a system tag. "We'll follow up shortly," the message said. I wiped my hands on a towel and checked the missed call log. 3 attempts, same number, each one a minute apart. A text came through, brief and polite, asking to reschedule and offering a later slot. I deleted nothing. The towel went back on the rack. Linda cleared her throat, watching, waiting, as if timing mattered. My sister asked about dessert, and someone laughed, relieved, like the problem had solved itself without effort. I kept the phone in sight and said nothing. The floor dried unevenly under the table edge. Linda called everyone to the table. Plates were passed. Someone asked me to sit. I stayed where I was. "Don't be rude," Linda said. "At least eat." The radio in the garage was still on from the drive back. A business segment cut through the chatter, a host listing names quickly. One of them sounded familiar. I took a step toward the door, mop still in my hand. The garage door finished closing, and by the time dinner ended, the story had already changed. It moved faster than I did. By the next morning, Linda had called 2 relatives and a neighbor. By afternoon, my phone filled with messages that all sounded similar without using the same words. "You know how your mom worries. She just wants you settled. Maybe don't push back right now." No one asked what happened. They told me what they'd been told. According to Linda, I'd been difficult, distracted, and currently between jobs. The mop never came up. The call I'd declined didn't either. An email from a partner landed before noon. Short subject line, polite tone. They needed to rerun a background check. Apparently, a call had come in offering clarifying information about my availability and stability. The note said it was routine and asked me to confirm a few things. Attached was a form. The co-working space was louder than usual. Or maybe I noticed it more. Daniel had his laptop open, but wasn't typing. He waited until I sat down. "Did they ever know what you do?" he asked. The question wasn't gentle. It wasn't angry either. It landed and stayed there. "They know enough," I said. Daniel didn't nod. He didn't disagree. He slid his phone across the table instead. "Then don't argue," he said. "Don't explain. Just keep everything." A text from an aunt came through while he was talking. Something about respect. Something about timing. "Save it," Daniel said, glancing at the screen. "Screenshots, call logs, emails, even the stuff that feels small." The voicemail from the night before was still unread. I put it on speaker. The voice was automated, flat, professional. We attempted to reach you regarding a scheduling matter on Friday at 11:42 a.m. Please return our call. 11:42 was when Linda had been leaning over the hood of the car, pen pressed hard enough to leave a groove. The timestamp sat there, neat and undeniable. Daniel raised his eyebrows. "That's not nothing," he said. Another email arrived before either of us stood up. This one was from HR, not the partner directly. More attachments, a checklist, proof of address, emergency contact confirmation, a section labeled Family Verification. The last line read, "Thank you for your cooperation." Daniel laughed once under his breath. They always say that. I filled out what I could without adding commentary. The system didn't ask for explanations. It wanted boxes checked and files uploaded. Every page ended the same way. "Thank you for your cooperation." By evening, Linda called. She didn't ask how work was going. "We should all sit down this weekend," she said. "There are a few things that need to be signed so everything's clear." "Clear for who?" I asked. "For everyone," she replied. "You've always appreciated clarity." The call ended before a response formed. The next day brought more messages. A college friend suggested taking time off. A cousin asked if I'd thought about going back to school. Someone else sent a job listing that paid less than half of what I was currently billing. The co-working space filled up. Daniel left for another meeting. I stayed and listened to the hum of other people doing work no one questioned. Another email came in late afternoon. A calendar invite. Formal title, mandatory attendance. Same partner, same HR rep. The time slot overlapped with something else on my calendar. The deadline notification followed a second later. Entrepreneurial Recognition Program, final review. Same date, same hour. The system didn't care. It booked both. Linda texted a thumbs-up emoji when I told her I might be late Saturday. "Try not to make this harder than it needs to be," she wrote. The calendar stayed split, neither event backing down. The co-working space emptied out by early evening, but Daniel stayed, scrolling instead of packing up. "Got something," he said, turning his screen. It wasn't dramatic, just a call log, a single outgoing number highlighted. Linda's cell. Time-stamped to the minute. "That's when they called you for verification," Daniel said. "And this," he tapped the screen, "that's when your mom called them." The time matched the voicemail. It also matched the moment I'd been told to stop what I was doing and grab the mop. The log wasn't proof of anything by itself. It didn't say what was said. It didn't say who believed whom. It only showed that she'd been there first. Daniel sent the file to my email. "Keep it," he said. "Don't forward it yet." Another detail clicked into place before either of us said anything else. The paperwork from the garage. The pen pressing hard, the quick cross-out. What I'd assumed was a mistake sat differently now. I pulled up the photo I'd taken that day without thinking much about it. The header was small, the type light. Temporary authorization. The name written in had been changed, but the signature block hadn't. "That's not nothing either," Daniel said. My sister's voice replayed in my head, casual and careless. "You're meeting people next week anyway." She hadn't meant it as a warning. She'd said it like a schedule update. By the time I got home, 3 relatives had texted about legal stuff. One asked if I was okay. Another suggested I shouldn't stress Linda out while things were fragile. I didn't respond. The next morning, a message from my sister landed. "Mom's just trying to help." Things look weird from the outside. The outside apparently included people I'd never met. A lawyer I'd worked with once agreed to a quick meeting, neutral office, neutral tone. The call log went on the table. The authorization followed. The lawyer didn't pick them up right away. "Not enough," she said. "Yet." She explained it without softening anything. Temporary permissions lived in gray areas. Family interference was common. Motive was hard to prove. Timing helped, but only if it came with corroboration. "If you push now," she said, "you look reactive, and that can backfire." On the way out, my phone buzzed again, a cousin this time. Your mom said you're dealing with some legal trouble. Hope it's nothing serious. The phrase moved fast. Legal trouble. It didn't need detail to do its work. By afternoon, an automated notice flagged my account. Limited access pending verification. No accusations, just a pause. The system was calm about it. Daniel called when he saw the notification. She's setting the frame, he said. Careful how you step into it. At home, I opened the paperwork again, read every line this time. The authorization had a scope, narrow, specific. It hadn't expired yet. She didn't need access forever. She needed it long enough. The realization came without drama, no rush, no panic, just clarity. She didn't need my money. She needed my name. That evening, an email sat half-written for a while, short, direct, no explanations. Why did you contact my partner? What authority were you using? I sent it before editing softened it. Linda replied an hour later. I was protecting you. You weren't thinking clearly. 10 minutes after that, the project dashboard locked. Access restricted pending review. A new message followed, automated, impersonal. Your account is temporarily unavailable while we verify recent changes. No blame, no names. Just the pause. The cursor blinked on my screen as the page refreshed, then froze again. The suspension notice arrived before breakfast. Formal subject line, neutral language, no greeting. The partnership was paused, effective immediately, pending review. Access would remain restricted. Communication would be centralized through the listed family contact. Linda was copied. The email didn't accuse anyone. It didn't explain much either. It did confirm one thing clearly. She was now officially part of the process. A follow-up message landed minutes later, this time from legal. It referenced the temporary authorization on file and acknowledged receipt of a statement submitted on my behalf. The wording suggested concern, care, and responsibility. Linda had written it as if I were unavailable to speak for myself. Daniel called as soon as he saw the notification. She used the window, he said, the one where systems like having a single, reliable point of contact. Another email arrived while he was talking. Linda, again, explaining that she'd stepped in to protect her daughter during a stressful period. She thanked everyone for their understanding. The word daughter sat heavy on the screen. My sister texted an hour later. Mom's doing this because she cares. You don't see how bad it looks from the outside. The outside had grown fast. A calendar alert blinked, then disappeared. The interview tied to the recognition program had been canceled. No explanation, just a reschedule notice with no new date attached. The deadline passed without comment. That afternoon, the public announcement went live. I saw it through someone else's post. Names listed in neat columns. Mine wasn't there. A clause in the contract prevented public response during review. No statements, no clarifications. Silence by design. Daniel didn't try to soften it. She always steps in right when a system needs a responsible adult, he said. She fills the gap before you can. Another call came in, then another email, then a document request. Each one referenced a different department, but the tone stayed the same. Calm, procedural, efficient. A risk flag appeared on the account dashboard. Yellow, not red, enough to slow things down without stopping them entirely. A message from Linda followed, cheerful in a way that didn't fit the moment. Everything's handled. Focus on resting. I didn't reply. The lawyer sent a short note later that evening. The authorization Linda had used was valid within its narrow scope. Revoking it would take time. Challenging her actions would take longer. This isn't about intent, the message read. It's about process. The phone kept lighting up. Cousins, family friends, people I hadn't spoken to in years, all offering the same advice in slightly different words. Don't escalate. Let your mother help. This will pass. Another cancellation came through, then another. Each one phrased politely as if nothing significant was happening. Daniel stopped by briefly. He didn't bring solutions. She's not reacting, he said. She's executing. He pointed out the pattern. the timing, how every move landed just early enough to define the narrative before I could speak. She's always the first adult in the room, he said. Systems reward that. An automated message arrived while we were talking. Your account status has changed. Please review updated terms. No emotion, no urgency, just an update. By night, the apartment felt smaller. The laptop stayed open, cycling through locked dashboards and unreadable notices. A draft email sat unsent, explaining everything to everyone at once. It didn't fix anything. Files started moving into it. Call logs, emails, screenshots, copies of forms I hadn't paid attention to before. Another notification popped up as the folder filled. Additional review required. The system waited. The line I should have drawn. The lawyer didn't let the story wander. Dates, she said. Times. Who said what and when. The table between us filled with papers as I talked. Not explanations, not reactions. Just facts. She stopped me whenever a sentence drifted. That part doesn't matter, she said. Say what happened, not how it felt. So the timeline tightened. The call I declined. The voicemail timestamp, the authorization signed in the garage, the emails Linda had been copied on long before anyone told me, the meeting that vanished, the announcement that went live without my name. When the list was done, the lawyer tapped the page with her pen. You gave her access, she said. You didn't limit it. And you didn't revoke it when you should have. The words landed cleanly. No accusation, no comfort. Family had been the reason. Not trust exactly, habit. A belief that paperwork was for strangers and contracts were for people who didn't share last names. That belief showed up everywhere on the page. A rushed signature. An emergency contact field I'd never updated. Calendar invites forwarded without thinking. Each one looked small on its own. Together, they formed a pattern I hadn't wanted to see. Daniel joined the call halfway through. He didn't interrupt. He dropped one message into the shared folder and let it sit there. An internal email thread from the partners team, months old. Short messages back and forth asking logistics questions. Linda had answered them. Primary contact, she'd written, happy to coordinate. The date was weeks before the mop, before the voicemail, before anything I'd noticed. The lawyer scrolled, slow and careful. That changes the scope, she said, but it also raises the stakes. She explained the cost without dramatizing it. Filing a formal complaint would trigger reviews that didn't pause politely. Contracts could be terminated outright. Relationships would cool. Opportunities wouldn't wait around. You may not get them back, she said. Daniel didn't argue. He watched my face, then nodded once. It's not about getting back, he said. It's about stopping it. The decision didn't arrive as a speech. It showed up as a short answer. Proceed, I said. The lawyer slid a new document across the table. This one was specific, narrow, written to keep access where it belonged. Sign here, she said, and here. The pen felt heavier than it should have, not because of doubt, because of timing. This was the line, not emotional, not symbolic, just legal and late. A warning popped up before submission. By proceeding, you acknowledge potential impact to existing agreements. I acknowledged it. Daniel watched the progress bar fill. She's going to push back, he said. Hard. The lawyer closed her laptop. That's fine, she said. Now there's a record. The last step asked for a summary. 3 sentences maximum. I typed what happened. No adjectives, no speculation, just sequence. Submit. The screen refreshed. Under review. No confirmation email, no reassurance. Just a status line that stayed gray instead of green. Outside the office, Daniel paused. You should tell her, he said, before she hears it from someone else. The message to Linda stayed brief. I've filed a formal complaint. All future communication goes through counsel. The reply came fast. I don't understand why you're doing this. I was helping. The phone stayed on the table. The status page stayed open. Under review. Nothing moved, nothing resolved. The update came through counsel, not the portal. The subject line didn't signal anything dramatic. It said, "Preliminary findings. The body stayed restrained. No conclusions yet, no accusations, just patterns." Linda hadn't intervened once. She'd positioned herself as a point of contact across multiple moments that mattered. Small ones, email replies, scheduling confirmations, follow-ups that looked helpful in isolation. Taken together, they formed a quiet channel that ran parallel to mine. The lawyer walked through it on the phone, one item at a time. Vendor outreach, she said. Media inquiries. Calendar coordination. None of it had required money. None of it had left an obvious paper trail. It relied on proximity and familiarity. A mother answering before anyone thought to question it. Two old details shifted shape immediately. The family dinners Linda insisted on, the ones she framed as check-ins. They lined up with negotiation windows. Not exactly, but close enough to pull me away when timing mattered. The advice to stay private landed differently, too. "You don't want too many voices," she'd said more than once. "Keep things simple." Simple meant filtered. The lawyer paused before the next part. She wasn't collecting fees, she said. She was collecting attribution. That tracked. The introductions she made, the way she spoke about my work to people who had no reason to hear it from her. Always supportive, always positioned just close enough to be seen. The motive wasn't control over money. It was proximity to outcome. Before the call ended, another message arrived, this one from Linda's attorney. A petition had been filed requesting formal recognition of her role as authorized representative during periods of stress. It cited concern, family support, past correspondence. Attached was a letter from someone I recognized, a mid-level administrator, not a decision-maker, someone who knew Linda socially. The letter described her as attentive, reliable, and deeply invested in her daughter's well-being. Daniel read it twice. "She's widening the frame," he said, turning help into precedent. The lawyer didn't disagree. "She's building legitimacy," she said, "which makes this slower." One of the files I'd submitted came back flagged, a communication thread collected after the complaint date. Inadmissible for initial review. The timestamp worked against me. "That piece is out," the lawyer said, "for now." The silence that followed wasn't emotional, it was logistical. A recalculation. Another email arrived, then another, each one acknowledging receipt of filings without addressing substance. Linda texted, "I'm confused why this needs to be legal." We could have talked. The words sat there, framed as concern. Daniel didn't tell me what to write. He pointed to the clock instead. "She's always ahead of the meeting," he said. "She doesn't wait to be invited." The lawyer called again before close of business. "Manage expectations," she said. "This isn't a fast win." Another notice came through the portal while we spoke. The status shifted from under review to extended review. No explanation, just a longer wait. The petition Linda filed triggered its own process, a parallel track, separate deadlines, separate standards. "She's making this about capacity," the lawyer said, "not conduct." Daniel leaned back in his chair. "That's harder to disprove," he said. A message from my sister arrived in the middle of it. "Mom's really hurt. She feels like you're erasing her." The language had changed. No mention of work, no mention of contracts, just feelings positioned as stakes. The lawyer stayed focused. "This isn't personal anymore," she said, "not in the way the system sees it." That truth settled without drama. The next email stripped another document from consideration. Procedural timing, no malice, just rules. A calendar invite appeared for a hearing I hadn't requested. Linda had. The subject line framed it as clarification. Daniel looked at the schedule. "She's forcing visibility," he said, "on her terms." The day ended with one last call. "We're not winning yet," the lawyer said. The meeting invitation came from compliance, not legal. That mattered. It meant process, not persuasion. Everyone joined on time, cameras optional, names labeled cleanly across the screen. Linda spoke first. "I'm here as Maya's mother," she said, "and as someone who's been helping when she couldn't keep up." No one reacted. The compliance officer nodded once and asked for materials. My lawyer took over. No preamble, no framing. She shared the call logs, dates, times, originating numbers. The voicemail timestamp sat between two entries, exactly where it belonged. A pause followed, long enough for the numbers to register. Linda leaned forward. "I was just coordinating," she said. "Families do that." The next file opened. Emails, short replies, calendar confirmations. Nothing emotional, nothing inflammatory. Just proof of access being used when it hadn't been requested. Linda shook her head. "You're reading too much into this," she said. "I was supporting my daughter." The compliance officer didn't interrupt. He waited until the file finished loading, then asked one question. "Ms. Collins, did you have authorization to access this system directly?" Linda hesitated, just long enough to matter. "I had permission," she said, at the time. The third document appeared without commentary. A system record, login credentials, IP addresses, a trail that didn't argue. It showed access beyond scope, beyond timing, beyond what the temporary authorization allowed. Linda opened her mouth, then closed it. The compliance officer spoke again. "This indicates misuse," he said. "We'll need to disable all prior authorizations effective immediately." No one argued. The decision didn't invite it. An automated email landed as he spoke. Case status updated. The timing was accidental. The effect wasn't. Linda started talking again, faster this time. "I was protecting her," she said. "You don't understand our family." The compliance officer didn't respond. He turned to my lawyer instead and outlined next steps: independent review, external audit, suspension of representation privileges. The words were neutral. The consequences weren't. A notification chimed, another automated message. "Access revoked." Linda looked at me then, not angry, confused. "You could have told me," she said. "I would have stopped." My lawyer answered instead. "The record shows continued access after notice," she said. "That limits discretion." The compliance officer closed his folder. "That concludes today's session," he said. Before anyone logged off, someone else entered the room. Not on screen, in person. A courier. The camera angle caught just enough movement to register interruption. Linda turned as the envelope was placed in front of her. "What's this?" she asked. "Service," the courier said. The room stayed still. No one filled the space. The silence wasn't dramatic, it was procedural. Linda picked up the envelope, read the first line. Her face changed, but not in a dramatic way, more like recalibration. She glanced toward the camera, then back to the paper, as if checking whether this counted as part of the meeting. My lawyer muted her mic. The compliance officer didn't need to say anything else. The meeting ended the way it began, on schedule, without commentary. The portal refreshed on its own. Case status updated. Another message followed. Independent review initiated. A third arrived seconds later. Please do not contact involved parties during this process. Daniel texted as the screen went dark. It's on record now. A reply from compliance landed before I locked the laptop. Thank you for bringing this to our attention. The phone stayed face down. The envelope stayed in Linda's hands. The system moved forward without asking anyone how it felt. Deadlines repopulated. Access logs closed themselves. The logout confirmation blinked once, then disappeared. The courier waited by the door, pen out, as Linda signed. The signature took longer than usual. No one rushed her. When the door closed behind him, the room remained unchanged. No raised voices, no final words. Another window opened without prompting. a compliance calendar populated with dates no one had discussed, placeholder times, review checkpoints, names assigned to tasks instead of people. Linda reached for her phone. "We should talk about this," she said. "There's been a misunderstanding." The compliance officer held up a hand. "All communication goes through counsel," he said. A final notification arrived, smaller than the rest. "Documents preserved." The words stayed on screen as Linda gathered her papers. She didn't look at anyone. She folded the envelope once, then again, precise. The call timer ticked forward. No one disconnected yet. A soft chime sounded. Another automated line appeared. "Session recording archived." Linda's cursor hovered, then froze. No one spoke. The process held its place. The screen dimmed slightly as inactivity timers counted down, one by one, still running. No prompts, no questions, just the countdown continuing. No one disconnected yet. The system remained active, waiting silently. After the noise, the notice came through counsel first. Linda was barred from acting as a representative in any transaction connected to my work. The language was firm and unadorned, effective immediately. No appeal window listed on that page. Family didn't call to argue anymore. They forwarded PDFs. Attachments replaced opinions. A cousin asked where to send a signature. An aunt asked whether a notarized copy was required. No one asked me to explain. The paper explained it for them. Linda texted that afternoon. "I'm sorry things went too far," she wrote. "I never meant for it to become this." There was no mention of access or timing, no reference to the letters or the logs, just distance measured in words. A reply went back through counsel, short, polite. It stated that I wasn't available for private conversations and that all communication should follow the process already in place. My sister called anyway. "Mom's taking this hard," she said. "She feels shut out." "I'm not meeting," I said. "Anything important can go through the attorney." The call ended without an argument. That was new. Compliance followed with a formal summary. Linda's name appeared once, then not again. The document outlined restrictions in clear steps. No representation, no proxy access, no exceptions for family status. Each line carried a date and a reference number. Daniel stopped by later with a box of folders. He didn't linger. "They closed the loop," he said. "Compliance sent confirmation." The message arrived while he was there. Authorization revoked. Credentials disabled. A list of names followed, none of them Linda's. Another email came in minutes later, automated and plain. "Your account is back in good standing." The timing landed oddly gentle. No celebration, just restoration. Work resumed without ceremony. Interviews were rescheduled by assistants who hadn't known the interruption existed. Calendars refilled. Access returned with the same password as before, as if the pause had been a clerical error. An HR coordinator asked for updated emergency contacts. The form required initials next to each change. A previous entry was removed. The system accepted it without comment. Family group chats stayed quiet. When they spoke, it was about logistics. Who would hold documents? Where to store copies? Linda's name didn't come up unless a form required a previous contact to be removed. A package arrived with certified copies. I signed, scanned, and uploaded them to the portal. Each upload produced a timestamp and a checkmark. The interface thanked me after every step. A billing notice adjusted automatically. A hold was lifted. Another system email confirmed alignment with policy. No human signature appeared anywhere on it. A letter came from Linda's attorney. It acknowledged the restrictions and requested patience. It framed regret broadly, without addressing specifics. The reply went back unchanged, routed through the same channel, recorded, and filed. A final compliance memo clarified boundaries for future contact. It listed scenarios and responses. Each one ended with the same instruction: route through counsel. The memo closed with a reference code and a date. I changed my number that evening. The carrier made it simple. New digits, same phone. A separate line stayed active for emergencies only. One contact assigned. Cloud storage synced overnight. Receipts uploaded. Permissions checked twice. Old access points were removed one by one. The system asked for confirmation each time. "Are you sure?" it prompted. "Yes." The lawyer sent a final note before close of business. "This resolves standing issues," she wrote. "Future matters should proceed normally." No qualifiers followed. Before leaving, another alert appeared, smaller than the rest, confirming backups completed and retention policies applied. The platform logged the action and moved on without pause, assigning an ID and timestamp to the closure. A short system message followed, noting compliance with retention rules and closing the case file automatically after confirmation, without asking for feedback or acknowledgement. The house keys sat in my bag longer than planned. Returning them felt procedural, like closing a tab left open too long. I stopped by when no one else was home. The door opened on the first turn. The entry table looked the same, mail stacked neatly, a pen where it always was. The keys rested there for a moment, metal against wood. No note. A text arrived as I reached for the door. "I wish we'd talked sooner," Linda wrote. There was no reply. The lock clicked. The door moved until the latch caught. Another notification vibrated through the phone as I stepped back. Documents archived successfully. The screen dimmed on its own. The app closed. The hallway stayed empty. The building's auto lock engaged behind me, and the exterior light shut off on schedule. I pulled the door toward me, listening to the hinge settle, and kept my hand there as it finished closing behind me.